I have friends that have podcasts, but they're not getting listens or reviews or getting a result from it. They're just talking into a mic and hoping somebody listens. Whereas with the Podcast Factory, you're getting the entire package of strategy to implementation to execution and actually seeing results coming back in from that.
This is Kyle with the Podcast Factory. Today I'm chatting with Greg Smith. Greg helps people become high performers and live a more free, uncommon lifestyle. He is the host of the Rise Above podcast. Greg, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. Hey, let's jump right in. Hey, what was your experience with podcasting before joining the Podcast Factory?
I'd always wanted to do a podcast, and it was always a good thought, but I just never had the strategy behind it and really the know-how. So for me, it was always something that seemed very unattainable and something that would happen in the future at some point. And so the future kept happening. And then I found the Podcast Factory and it finally became a reality.
And how did you find out about the Podcast Factory?
I was actually listening to a couple of the other shows that they produce. And so they kept hearing it. And then one day I saw JR make a post in a Facebook forum and I was like, that's the guy. And we connected through Facebook.
What sold you on the Done For You podcasting system?
We did a strategy call up front, and that was really a pre-qualifying call, I'm sure, for JR more so than it was me, to make sure that I was going to be a fit for even what they do. And so through that call, we both got a lot of clarity on what my expectations were and ultimately what they could provide for me. And I'll tell you that JR is just an absolute wizard. I mean, he was able to take all of my thoughts and just the discombobulation of all the things that I wanted to do and really wasn't sure where it would flow to. And he created this strategy where I knew once he presented me with what they could do, that it was the answer to really get me rolling.
And what tangible business results have you seen from your podcast, and how has it helped your business?
You know what's been amazing is I've been able to share a lot of things, personal things that normally I don't share on different platforms. And it's such an intimate relationship that you have with the listener, being that it's literally just you and them. You know, it's you inside of their ear. Typically they're listening in a one-on-one setting. And so the relationship that gets developed through that with you and the listener, and ultimately the credibility and the authority that comes with that, I think is a big deal. But for me, it's really been the connecting that's been able to happen through them hearing my stories and the vulnerability that I can share with, you know, my particular style and what my podcast is. So it's been amazing just to see the connection that I'm getting with listeners through that medium.
What specific feature of the Done For You service do you like the most?
Well, multiple things, but what I love is typically being an entrepreneur, you always want to do things yourself. And you feel like if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. What I found is this is something where I can truly just focus on the message and I can just hit record. I send it off and literally everything's done, from the show notes to uploading, literally everything. So for me, it's the hands-off feature. But the one thing that I think is amazing and that I really talk about very often is the fact that every time I talk with JR, and specifically, I mean, just the first call that I did with him alone was worth tuition. And it was amazing to see, because I talk to a lot of people and I have a lot of mentors and I have a good network, but for him to be able to take what's in here and help me put it out there, that's been the biggest benefit to the whole program for me. I mean, I'm sure there's other people that can do podcasting Done For You services, but to have JR behind it with the strategy, I think that's the most amazing part.
So you would say the strategy aspect would separate Podcast Factory from the competition?
All day. Anybody can have a podcast, but to have the strategy behind it and actually be executing it, I think that's the difference, because I have friends that have podcasts, but they're not getting listens or reviews or getting a result from it. They're just talking into a mic and hoping somebody listens. Whereas with the Podcast Factory, you're getting the entire package of strategy to implementation to execution and actually seeing results coming back in from that.
Would you please share 3 other benefits of the Done For You service?
I would say what I loved going through the beginning was really collecting, you know, it all goes back to strategy. Because for me, I wanted to do a podcast, but I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do it on or how I was going to do it. So to have him take that and actually create a plan where he talks about the content vault and what that plan is and what you talk about, inside of that, I think that alone has been amazing. That, even without the Done For You service, was worth getting in and being a member of the Podcast Factory. But besides that, the ongoing support and the team that they have in place is really quite incredible. I think it's a larger operation than they even lead you to believe. But at the same time, it's still a very homey feel to it, to where some of the stuff that we get in the mail and the communications and things like that, you can really tell that JR and Rachel really take the time to make you feel special, but ultimately get you results. I mean, that's what we want as entrepreneurs is to get results. But aside from that, you can tell that there's more to it and there's more to their mission.
Who would you recommend the Podcast Factory's Done For You service to?
I'd say anybody that really is looking to get a message out into the world, somebody who needs a team, to where for me, it was about paying for speed of implementation. I'm a master procrastinator. It's really for somebody who needs structure and needs a system that you can hand things off to. That, to me, as an entrepreneur, is the biggest deal, because when you really look at where is my genius, where is my time best spent, where am I going to get the best ROI, it's not doing what they do. And so to hand that off to a professional who can 10x your result, really 100x the results that you'd get on your own, or just trying to find some freelancer or something, that to me is somebody who's looking for a professional team to get your voice into the marketplace and actually have you be heard and get a result because of it.
Anything else you'd like to add?
If you're looking for the hands-off production company and the crew and the strategy that comes along with it, then the Podcast Factory, they're your guys.